Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
May peace be upon us all.
Om Swastiastu.
Namo Buddhaya.
Greetings of virtue and
Good morning.
ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to welcome you, the academics, lecturers, and intellectuals into our international conference on technology, education, and social sciences, Universitas Slamet Riyadi, with the theme
Opportunities and challenges after the pandemic era, a reflection to post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let us introduce ourselves to you. I am Sekarasnesha Hakim from the International Relation major and my partner,
Rahadian Ronaku Elroy from Faculty of Law will take the responsibility as the Master of Ceremony in order to give the guidance through our today's conference.
It is an honor to us to introduce and welcome the honorable audiences from our stage. First, the head of Slamet Riyadi Foundation and the representatives, the Honorable Rector of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, the Honorable Vice Rectors of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, the Honorable Invited Speakers, the Honorable All Deans of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, and all distinguished guests.
Ladies and gentlemen, together with the introduction of our keynote speakers, I would also tell you that this event will be divided into two main discussions, which are panel 1 and 2, that will be led by our moderators.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this great occasion, please allow us to deliver the structure of today's event. First, welcoming speech, continued by opening speech, then opening prayer or moments of silence, keynote speech by Rector of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, then panel session 1, continued by panel session 2, break time, and then the last parallel session.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up for the national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
The next agenda is the welcoming speech from the chairperson of the conference, Dr. Insinyur Dewi Ratna Nurhayati MP. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Good morning. The Honorable Rector of Universitas Selamat Riyadi, Professor Sutardi, Vice Rectors, Deans of all faculties, distinguished speakers, colleagues, and all participants. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth ICTESS International Conference of Technology, Education, and Social Science. We were forced to postpone activities during the pandemic due to the difficult circumstances that surrounded us as we were struggling to cope with the impact of the pandemic. I guess all of you will concur with me that the pandemic has enormous impact on many aspects of our life. On the way we do things and on how we should perceive things. The COVID-19 pandemic, which struck for more than 2 years, has destroyed significantly the distribution system of the world agriculture and left many countries with shortage of food supply. Thousands of hectares of agriculture lands were abandoned due to lockdown. Many factories were compelled to close down as no workers were allowed to work. Food distribution chains were put in a deep trouble. This has become a serious threat to the world food security. Now that the COVID-19 threat has significantly subsided and we may have estimated that the world would recover soon. Unfortunately, an unprecedented event came to our surprise, namely the Russian attack to Ukraine in February 2022. The conflicts in Ukraine have seriously disrupted the world food chain since Ukraine is one important source of food supply such as wheat and sunflower. As the war is still going on after about 7 months, she should not expect that the food crisis will be over soon. Compounded with those challenges, it is timely for us to work together to help deal with the issues. And this conference is then part of our common effort and distribution. I would therefore commend all of you who have participated to make it is successful. We are glad to acknowledge the presence of important speakers, not only from Indonesia, but also from numerous countries, namely India, Malaysia, the Philippines, Thailand, and the United Kingdom. We also appreciate to the valuable papers submitted which surely enrich our discussion this day. Lastly, I should also thank members of the organizing committee for your hard work, because without which this conference is not possible. Thank you and enjoy the conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next is opening speech from the Rector of Universitas Selamat Riyadi, Professor Dr. Insinyur Sutardi, Master of Applied Science. We also would like to invite Professor Sutardi to officially open this conference. To Prof. Sutardi, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable, the Head of Selamat Riyadi Higher Education Foundation and staff, today we are guests, Bapak Edi dan Bapak Didi. Thank you very much for your coming. The honorable speakers, I am pleased to mention one by one in order the audience will know whom they are. First, TSCT Virus, Yusuf PhD, Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris UPSI, Malaysia. Second, Dr. Kamil B. Mustafa, Nottingham University, the UK. Third, Dr. Zubair Ahmed Khan, Guru Gobind Singh, Indraprastha University, India. Fourth, Professor Leo Amihan, Perspectual Health System Delta University, the Philippines. Fifth, Professor T.S. Dr. Burhanuddin Mohammed, Technical University, Malaysia. Sixth, Professor Buddhist Putsainun, PhD, Konkan University, Thailand. Dear Vice Rector at Selamat Riyadi University, all of Faculty Dean and Director of Postgraduate School at Selamat Riyadi University, all organizing and steering committee, member of the 4th ICTESS University of Selamat Riyadi 2020, all participants at the 4th International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Sciences. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, praise be to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. First of all, please allow me to convey warm welcome to the Honorable, the Head of Selamat Riyadi Higher Education Foundation and staff, all honored speakers who come from several countries such as UK, India, Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines, and also to all participants who have taken the opportunity to participate in the 4th International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Sciences, or the 4th ICTESS, via blended communication, online and offline. It is based on consideration that COVID-19 pandemic starting to slow down and approaching to a new normal. So we wish all of us be healthy and wealthy. The international conference has been organized and conducted by the organizing and steering committee at Selamat Riyadi University in order to celebrate the 42nd anniversary of Selamat Riyadi University that has been celebrated on 21st June 2022, couple of months ago. The theme of this international conference is opportunities and challenges after the COVID-19 pandemic era, which subtheme is a reflection to post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery effort. The theme is related to the national theme which was launched by the Indonesia government, that is, recover faster, come up stronger. This theme will be our spirit in facing new normal to gain global peace, prosperity, and advance. Currently, the world changes very fast and it is very disruptive to all of the style of our life. Therefore, we must shoot strategies based on adaptive, innovative, and cooperative attitude among the nations to develop a new era of global community, particularly post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery effort. In this wonderful occasion, personally and on behalf of Slamet Riyadi University, I am pleased to convey my appreciation to all guest speakers and to all participants of this conference. I also extend my great gratitude to all members of the organizing and steering committee that have worked hard to make all of this event successfully take place. Finally, I wish you all to have a good time during this international conference. I am sure that this conference will be valuable to exchange information and ideas and also to establish further cooperation among our institutions, especially higher education institutions. Hopefully, all of the participants will also gain international recognition from this conference. Lastly, we do hope that all of us will meet again in FIT ICTESS in the few future or next year. By wishing permission and willingness from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the 4th International Conference on Technology, Education and Social Sciences is officially open. Thank you. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Next agenda is the opening prayer. Moments of silence start. Moments of silence finish.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is keynote speech by the Rector of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, Profesor Dr. Insinyur Sutardi, Master of Applied Science. And we also would like to invite Dr. Sumardiono to moderate the keynote speech. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to have you here in our international conference. Opportunities and challenges after the pandemic era, a reflection to post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, and for the first session, I would like to invite the keynote speaker for today's conference, the Rector of Universitas Slamet Riyadi Surakarta. But before, let me tell you a brief about his curriculum vitae. Professor Dr. Insinyur Sutardi, Master of Applied Science, graduated from Faculty of Technology of Agriculture, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta, and receiving his master and doctoral degree from School of Food Technology, University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. He had been teaching as a professor in Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta for a couple of decades with expertise on food engineering. And now he is director of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, Surakarta. And in this very special occasion, he is going to deliver the effect of pandemic COVID-19 on the sustainability of higher education in Indonesia before, during, and the aftermath. Professor Dr. Insinyur Sutardi, please. Time's yours. 50 minutes, Mr. Rector.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Dion. I have to stand up here for a second time, so I apologize for this. Today, I would like to present my paper with the topic the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on the sustainability of higher education in Indonesia before, during, and the aftermath or post-pandemic. The government has launched various programs in preventing and dealing with the spread of COVID-19. One of which is requiring the public to strictly and correctly follow the health protocols. Everyone must wear masks, wash their hands with soap, keep physical distance, and reduce traveling. This program was followed by another program that was carried out quickly on the community vaccination or first vaccination, second vaccination, and followed by the booster vaccination, hoping that the community become immune to COVID-19 and the tragedy of pandemic will disperse soon. Whatsoever, the education in Indonesia, especially in higher education, must continue. There must be a way that students can continue to carry out learning activities in spite of the still spreading pandemic. Considering that one of the effective ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is physical distancing and reducing mobility. However, universities must change their learning activities to online or virtual learning. At the beginning of March 2020, Indonesia officially declared to be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, many universities implemented an online learning system as a consequence of the government policy. That were a program to limit community activities. Backward then realized various provisions such as staying at home, work from home, or WFH, and learn from home, or LFH. When the government policy on PPKM, restriction on community activities, is implemented, and all campuses are closed for an unknown time. Therefore, lecturers and students are required to hold lecture online with various variations, such as by using Zoom application, MS Teams, Google Classroom, Cisco VPAC, meeting, Google Meet, WhatsApp group, etc. In this emergency situation, the lecturer was suggested to create innovation for implementing various learning methods to continue their lecture and other academic programs such as laboratory work and research activities. What happened before pandemic? College campuses organized 3 Dharma perguruan tinggi, that is 3 basic principal college services, activities, data learning and teaching, research and community service by using face-to-face method. The situation and condition at the time were very safe without worrying at all that someone will get sick or health disorder due to activities on campus. It is true that everything go on normally and all campus activities go on well. Lectures, laboratory work, research, academic consultation, examination and graduation were carried out according to schedule and were followed by all stakeholders. Such conducive situation when enter a transitional period of the emergence, that is the early symptom of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in early March 2019. At the time, monitoring and reporting began to be carried out regarding to increasing number of people exposed to COVID-19. It is then announced that number of people exposed to the virus, the number of people who have to undergo treatment at the hospital, and the number of people who died because of COVID-19. That is when all members of the public began to experience anxiety and fear in the entering the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has spread to all parts of the world, and of course occurred in Indonesia as well. And those university campuses have launched an era of campus digitalization transformation, but it hasn't yet been completely implemented as well. What happened during pandemic COVID-19? College campuses have totally changed their own campus learning system from full face-to-face to online learning due to the very critical and frightening situation for all levels of society. Therefore, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology decided that all campuses are required to conduct virtual or online learning. All parties must comply with this resolution in the hope that the COVID-19 pandemic will disappear soon. Starting from the compulsion in carry out activities online, this creates new ideas or innovation for both lecturer and student to transfer knowledge properly and effectively, so that education is still ongoing despite there were many constraints faced by all parties. Such concerns are the readiness of an adequate hardware such as laptop, etc., the availability of adequate internet networks and services. Lecturers must learn how to use applications that are quite diverse. Some of them are not familiar. The cost to be provided for stakeholders. The attitudes and culture of lecturers and students who are not really in a new way and therefore need some adaptation. The learning outcome and graduate learning outcomes that is declining related to the new system that is not yet fully established. The critical situation required community to use communication and information technology. It creates a new culture among people because forcing people to new activities based on digital technology or information technology or IT. Digitalization makes things much easier and simplifies as well as accelerate a certain achievement. It is difficult to change old culture and their habits suddenly, in which people are forced to use new digital-based ways that are more efficient, productive, and innovative, and having a greater benefit. Post-pandemic COVID-19, there are lessons to be learned from the tragedy of the COVID-19 pandemic. It really changed the new order in communication and learning system. Lecturers and students have gained new knowledge and innovation in overcoming various difficulties for the continuity of the learning process. Science and technology that has been acquired and applied during the COVID-19 pandemic, which lasted for almost 3 years, that become a learning field to continue and to be maintained as sustainable principles. The transformation of digital-based education is an important part of the government program, namely MPKM, Learning Independent Campus, to produce graduates who are adaptive, innovative, and competitive in facing globalization era. They are expected to be winner or champion in global competition nowadays. Therefore, campuses must consistently provide 3 important things for the sustainability and success of digital-based higher education transformation. That are brainware or humanware, hardware, and software. About brainware or humanware. Brainware or humanware is a person who operate a computer device. In other words, it is human who is involved in operating hardware and software. In current digital era, whenever learning and teaching require complex knowledge and skill, changes in advanced technology, information, and communication do not only change the speed of human to access knowledge and skill. Rapid changes are also present in learning and teaching process, and unfortunately, many of us do not respond to these rapid changes. These fast and surprising changes are symptoms of this disruption and are the result of digital technology innovation. These changes can only be responded and understood properly by those who think that they are really occurring. So it is important to respond. Furthermore, those who are aware of various changes and feel the need to respond to them are not only those who are willing to have what is called a disruptive mindset and the willingness to change. One of the causes of a person not being able to change and adopt and become more creative and innovative is what we call a mental block, namely the rejection of the brain, so that the body will react and result in the inhibition of all kinds of activities, innovation, motivation, and much more. Mental block is a condition that is quite common in all circles of society. Of course, not all of us grow up in the age of digital technology as it is today. Even if they grow up in the era of digital technology, Not all of them have adequate access to recognize, learn, and use digital technology in teaching and learning process. However, considering the challenges in front of our eyes, of course, it is also not a reason to just choose give up on the situation. We should start changes our mindset in seeing changes which were previously threat to an opportunity and challenges. That is why we all should find ways to become creative and innovative learning process. Hardware, besides firmware, we also have to keep up with the most updated technology. Hardware now is developing very rapidly in our era. There is a both of hardware today to improve the quality of teaching and learning activities such as computer, laptop, tablets, smartphone, and others. As part of the changes society, we should follow the development of hardware technology. In its application, in the post-pandemic era, learning using hardware is needed for blended learning methods and hybrid methods. To support the hybrid and blended learning, some additional hardware is needed, such as webcam placed on a tripod to take picture of the lecture on the atmosphere in the classroom flexibility. Then clip-on microphone to capture the voice of the lecturer and student in the classroom connected to laptop and to display the voice at participants from far away. External speakers are used so that all participants in the classroom can listen. To be able to use the hybrid and blended learning methods, stable internet access is needed so that the material presented and the learning process in the classroom can be accessed smoothly by students from home or far away or long distance. Likewise, students who access directly from home also need a stable internet quota and devices such as smartphone or laptop. Thus, students need additional capital and cost to get a stable internet quota in the respective location. About software. Software is an information system, or more commonly known to public as application. If you are equipped with capable firmware and hardware, then this information system is the last equipment to support learning and teaching process in the current era of technological advances. By learning applications such as Google Maps, Google Classroom, Cisco Webex, Microsoft Teams, and many more. However, our learning and teaching process will be more enjoyable. The application is also free, so there is no reason not to use the application system to improve the quality and learning and teaching program. Those important things above must be provided and maintain their presence on the college campuses if we don't want to be out of date. It is a soft warning to the entire community that the world is experiencing various crises currently, especially energy and food crisis. We should also behave properly in facing these challenges by living our daily life wisely and wisely. Due to the pandemic that hasn't completely disappeared yet, the Ministry of Education, Culture and Technology provides a transition period of regulation with blended learning. This regulation from one side provides security guarantee from the threat of COVID-19 pandemic, while on the other hand, both lecturer and student can still carry out digital-based learning in accordance with a global basis. Up to conclusion, UNISRI must provide adequate hybrid learning devices in each classroom with stable internet access so that the learning and teaching process can not only take place in the classroom but also students who are in remote location. Moreover, the learning and teaching process is new model and continue in the post-pandemic period. UNISRI should also provide support in the form of internet quotas to students who participate in hybrid learning, so that students do not feel burdened by the post-pandemic learning and teaching method. Whenever higher education has to continue to focus on OP, outcome-based education, and the graduates have bargaining power for global competition, and the challenges are even greater in entering the world of work. Therefore, UNISRI should make the learning outcome of the graduate in line with the OP, who are innovative, adaptive, and competitive graduate. This is our manuscript or paper, and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Sutardi, for the general ideas for today's conference on opportunities and challenges for the post-pandemic era.
Now let's get on to panel session 1. This session will also be moderated by Dr. Sumardiono, SSM Hum.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the second time. Let me moderate for the first panel. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 is maybe the first pandemic in modern history, in modern human history, that is causing a lot of changes, significant changes to everyday life of people around the globe. This is a global problem that needs global solution. And only international collaboration, and it is only global collaboration that will solve this problem. And that is why today we have 6 experts from 6 countries that will exchange ideas and share practices to solve the problem about challenges and opportunities after the pandemic's era. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first panel session, I would like to invite 3 speakers, one from Malaysia, one from the UK, and the last one is from Philippines. And for the first term, I would like introduce Dr. Siti Fairuz Yusof. Dr. Fairuz, are you still online?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, thank you. I would like to tell the audience a little bit about your curriculum vitae. Okay, Dr. Siti Fairuz Yusof is receiving the doctoral degree in Horticulture University Putra, Malaysia. He specializes in horticulture. Research interest is in nanobiofungicide technology, post-harvest technology, post-harvest pathology, plant enzyme, and phytochemicals. Hopefully I pronounce quite well. Okay, and she is now a lecturer from the Faculty of Technical and Vocational University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. And in this very special occasion, he is going to deliver a topic of Malaysia government initiative toward enhancing food availability after the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Virus, 50 minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there will be three presentations. It's 15 minutes, and at the end, there will be 30 minutes for question and answer. And of course, you may put your answer on the chat room, or you may deliver it directly in this room. Thank you. 15 minutes, Dr. Virus.
Okay, thank you, Pak Dion. So, the screen will be, you share or from my side? How about the screen sharing?
Yeah. A little bit dark, Dr. Virus. Okay, but it's okay.
Okay, the screen, excuse me, Pak Dion, the screen will be shared by me or by your team?
Yeah, no, you will deliver the PPT yourself.
Okay.
Is it okay, Dr. Virus?
Okay, I think I should, I'm working on it. Okay, hopefully you can see my slides.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's very clear.
All right. Assalamualaikum and very good morning, everyone. Okay, thank you again, Pak Dion, as a
Good morning,
moderator
Prof.
this morning.
Yes. Good morning. Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, let's, without further ado, let me proceed to my presentations. Okay, I am Siti Faris Yusof, Pak Dion. I'm working at University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Perak, Malaysia, and also I am an editor-in-chief for Agrotech Food Science, Technology and Environment Journal. And today, I would like to share with all of you about the Malaysia government initiative towards enhancing the food security, mainly for the food availability after the COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully, I can take the time given. Okay, let me proceed. Some introductions here. Okay, as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic happened at the end of the 2019. Okay, the case keep increasing and many dies during this pandemics, and I am sure most of us here is ex-COVID-19 patients also. Okay, to control this outbreak, most of the countries implement movement restriction, or also we call a movement control order. Okay, but however, this movement control order gave many impacts, which is disruption on the food supply distribution and cause the consumer panic buying, the food shortage, and the food price also high. Okay, the people also cannot do their normal activities. They cannot go to work. They cannot do their outdoor activities and join in the celebrations and social activities. And some of us also losing their job during this MCO, and of course it might affect the mental health. Okay. Okay, according to the FAO, this COVID-19 increased the poverty and food security, and the United Nations also predict that the nearly 90% of the global populations faces hunger, and estimated 840 million will face the food insecurity by the year 2030. Okay, actually this food security can be measured by the GFSI, or Global Food Security Index. Okay. This GFSI, developed by the economists, in fact, and supported by the science, and The index is based on a dynamic benchmarking model constructed from 68 qualitative and quantitative drivers of food security. And this GFSI evaluates food security in 113 countries, which consists of pillars, which is affordability, availability, quality and safety, as well as sustainability and adaptation. Okay, this is some figures. I think this is 2021. The GFSI for Malaysia, Malaysia is 42nd in overall score, Thailand 64 and Indonesia 63rd. Okay, if you would like to know further about the other countries, you can go to the GFSI index. Okay, for Malaysia, they propose this National Food Security Policy Action Plan. Okay, this action plan for 4 years began 2021 to 2025 consists of these 4 components. Okay, however, today I would like to emphasize only on the availability because we know that if the production doesn't exist, the other process cannot be implemented. Okay. The food availability cluster for Malaysia was led by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, or we call MAFI. It comprised government agencies, academicians, and also non-government organizations. We have to make sure there's sufficient food supply for everybody. So there are 2 main programs under this cluster. Okay, the first, community agricultural development, or in Malaysia we call program Kebun Community. Okay, under this program, we have one specific policy for the urban community, which is urban community garden policy. Okay, this one is quite recent, launched the 3rd August of 2021. And the second program was the organic agriculture project. Okay, there are 5 main objectives under the programs. Okay, the first one, to identify the strategies to increase the SSL. Okay, second, to ensure the availability, import capacity, and facilitate strategies to explore alternative sources. Okay, and the third, to ensure the capacity of constant food stock to meet the needs of the Malaysian population. Okay, the fourth, to coordinate food aid to the target group and to ensure the availability of food for all Malaysians, including the foreigners who stay in Malaysia.
Excuse me, Dr. Sita.
Yes?
I cannot hear properly your presentation since the sound is echoing.
I see. Okay, I will slow down.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, this is the initiative from the government to these programs. Okay. They supply the inputs, farm structure and equipment, advisory and training services, and also fund. Okay. Why the urban population is emphasized to this community program? Because we know that every year, okay, there were increasing in migration from the rural to the urban. So the population of the urban area is increased. Okay. Next, insufficient of urban food sources. Okay. And some of the urban communities cannot afford the food due to the rising cost. So in urban, we know that in urban area is very congested area. Okay, so there was limited space for farming, but actually we have alternative for that. Okay, instead of negative impacts just now, okay, the MCO implementation has also gave also the positive impact. Okay, it increased the awareness among Malaysians of the importance producing their own food. So during the MCO, everybody involved in agricultural activities. And according to the Department of Agriculture, okay, there was a drastic increase in participation in urban farming, okay, from 2019 to 2021. Okay, there are some types of the urban farming, okay, community, private, and easement gardens. Okay, zero acreage farming, okay, refer to zero acreage farming, or we call also as Z farming. Okay, for this farming, we utilize the urban buildings for their agricultural activities. Okay, such as rooftop gardens, rooftop greenhouses, and also indoor farming. Okay, for the for the production system, okay, we can apply either hydroponic system, fertigation, aeroponic, aquaponic, which is integrated between aquaponic and also hydroponic, vertical farming as well as conventional farming. Okay, let's look at where this program has been conducted. Okay, this A is a rooftop farming at Shah Alam, Selangor, and this B, hijau rooftop at Brickfields, KL, Kuala Lumpur, and this C is the mini hydroponic system conducted by a resident. This D is the indoor hydroponic system in Gombak, Selangor, and this E is the plants grow in the planter box by the community, and F is the open field cultivation practiced by the community in Shah Alam, Selangor. Okay, there are other places for this program, such as in Peluang, Johor, Hulu, Selangor, and also in school community. And from this, for this figure, in Sekolah Kebangsaan Air Panas Kuala Lumpur. Hello? Okay. Let's look at some other places. We have also the other places, and we can see that their agricultural activities is very neatly organized, because these programs are monitored closely by the Department of Agriculture officer, and they will come and monitor times 2 times. Okay, this one is the rooftop one. Okay, many more. Okay. And this Pejabat Hunisab Batu Buruk, they practice the fertigation system. And also we have also the integrated farming between livestock and
Dr.
also.
Fairuz,
Yes.
you have 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, integrated farming between the livestock and also plants. And this one is the organic agriculture project, which practiced in the Sandakan, Sabah. They use kitchen waste compost to this plant. Okay, how about the impact from these programs? Okay, first, we can provide sufficient food supply for their own use. This food is safe to eat because we know what we put onto our plants. Okay, it can reduce the cost of living. According to a study, this participant said that they can reduce expenses on vegetables, RM92 to 124 ringgit per month after joining this program. Okay, and if they get extra, they can make the side income, create the job, improve the landscape, of course, enhance the community bonding, because they work together and create the sustainable environment. And this one is the initial program under UPSI. We do the Edu Green Upsi Smart Farming. And as the concluding remarks, okay, these programs under a government conducted by the government of Malaysia could enhance the food security, mainly for the availability in Malaysia. Okay. So I encourage all of us, let's start with us first to increase the food availability to our country. Okay, thank you so much. Pak Dion, sorry, we can't hear you.
Presentation. At the end of the presentation, there will be 30 minutes for the Q&A, for the question and answer. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Virus. And then we are going, okay, please give a big hand. Okay, for the nice information and the nice pictures from Dr. Virus. And then the second speaker will be from Professor Kamil Mustafa from Nottingham University. Prof. Kamil, are you still already online?
Yes, I am online. Sorry, I seem not to be able to hear you. Yeah, I still cannot hear you.
Okay, perhaps
Yes,
there is...
okay now.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I will read a little about your curriculum vitae. Prof. Kamil Mustafa holds a PhD from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, with a focus on mechanics of material. And he is currently an associate professor with the Department of Medical Materials and Manufacturing Engineering, University of Nottingham. He is the author of 3 books published in 2018, 2019, and 2021. And of course, you can read the books, yeah. And in this very special moment, he is going to present propagation on circular design practices toward enhancing the post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. Prof. Kamil, please, times your 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will try to share my screen. Okay, so can I confirm if you can see my screen?
Not yet?
Yes, we can.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, so thank you very much. A very good morning to Director of University Salamat Riyadi and the top management, the organizers of this program, my co-panelists, as well as all the participants that are attending this important conference on the effect of COVID-19 in the post-pandemic era, of course. So my talk will revolve around some of the issues that Dr. Fairoz has also mentioned now. So we look at the pre-pandemic challenges, COVID-19 pandemic effect, and then the post-pandemic era challenges. So before COVID-19, the world was basically going through a lot of challenges. Some of those involve, increasing economic inequality around the world, as well as regional economic inequality as well, in various regions of the world. And beyond that, we also have climate crisis, so which, different research has been done, and different organizations, different countries are trying to see how we can move away from, the way we have been using material into a sustainable way of using material moving forward. So before COVID-19, these two crises are, something that we are all aware of: climate crisis as well as inequality. And then on the 11th of March 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. And as we speak, this week, for instance, up to 626 million cases in total from the beginning of the pandemic have been recorded. And 6.57 million deaths have also been recorded across the world. So obviously, this is a situation that perhaps is once in a lifetime event. It's a very serious event, and obviously this has led to a lot of negative effects, which Dr. Farouz has mentioned. For instance, we've all seen the loss of life and health. The national health infrastructures were all stressed all over the world, and then there is straining of global as well as local economy. So these three were obvious challenges, and of course, those negative effects led to a number of things. We have new realities now, things like lockdown. Nobody, it's not something that we talk about now. Everybody understand what is lockdown, SOP, for instance, around the world, contact tracing, testing, quarantine, and all this. And there was huge financial assistance from government because of COVID-19. So with all the negative challenges, as well as the effect that I mentioned now, we all can notice the effect of COVID-19 on the global supply chain was huge. The tourism industry was decimated in various parts of the world. The education industry, as the rector mentioned in the opening speech, was brought to a halt. We all have to do online. The airline industry was also bankrupted. Many of them are still trying to come back, and there was intense competition for scarce medical resources around the world. Now, beyond this obvious negative effect that we know, if we put all of those things together, actually, we will see that it becomes very difficult for many of the countries to be able to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, which is due to the fact that many of the countries actually notice or experience a drastic reduction in growth. So there wasn't economic growth because we're all locked down. Many of the industries, small scale, medium scale enterprises, they have to close down, and many of them are still trying to come back till now. So there's going to be a lot of challenges for many of the countries in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, despite the negative effect, of course, there is certain positive effect of COVID in a way, and these are something like improvement in air quality. And then there was a reduction in noise. There was decline in industrial energy usage. Then we have record low CO2 emission, but there was also huge wave of digitalization. Now, while these positive effects, were there, especially during the lockdown, the thing is we cannot rely on the pandemic to actually continue to have this positive effect. So in a way, if we can achieve, the belief is if we can achieve this during the pandemic, is there a way we can also continue to achieve similar effect? Before the pandemic, we were just around the world, there's talk about reducing the CO2 emission, but the efforts towards it were not really significant. With pandemic, everybody locked down at home, and many of the companies, reduced their workers. Then there was some of these positive effect which will have contributed to the achievement of the United Nations Development Goal. But how do we achieve this effect again without having to go through another pandemic or in the post-pandemic era? So these are the emerging trends. So for now, we know that COVID-19 induced positive changes. We cannot rely upon them because we don't want to be locked down forever, and we don't want to keep locking down or keep closing down our factories and industries. So while we continue to remain vigilant, we have to believe that we continue to live with COVID-19 in the endemic phase. in order for government around the world to deal with this, they have come up with different type of recovery plans. In Malaysia, for instance, in the UK, in the US, and some of these recovery plans, if we we check the policy papers from the government around the world, we'll notice that all of them are talking about building back better. How do we build back? How do we get our industries to be sustainable? How do we get the citizens to become informed contributors to sustainable development, socio-economic development in the future? So in the UK, the policy people also talking about building back better. In the US, the same thing, all around Europe and Asia as well. And in Malaysia, for instance, the government also in the NPR, the National Recovery Plan for 2021, they also talk about building back better, specifically the adoption of urgent investment in green recovery strategy, and also leveraging on the wave of digitalization that happened during COVID-19. All the citizens, the students were doing online learning, but also those that are not in schools, have access to their phones, making use of those phones, to get things around, to order things and purchase things. But how do we leverage this wave of digitalization beyond social media, for instance, and how do we also deal with, the green recovery strategy? Okay. So the problems, again, is with the recovery plans by the government, the attempt is to minimize widespread loss of life and jobs, and also to address economic dislocation. But however, as we move out of the pandemic, certain issues will remain. Things like waste. For instance, during the pandemic era, or even in the pandemic era and the post-pandemic era, we all continue to use our mask. There's a lot of economic activities springing back, so people are happy that they are no longer under lock. Waste will cool, and also there will be other type of waste as well. As we move out of the pandemic phase into the endemic, the important question is, if we want to go with the government policies on building back better, what are the precise mechanisms that the government can use to propagate the fundamental advantages of green recovery to the citizens? Beyond the policy papers, what is the mechanism that the government can use? And then the second key question is, yes, there's a lot of digitalization during the COVID lockdown, but beyond social media and e-commerce, what are the other opportunities that the government can leverage on when it comes to digitalization? So these are the questions that my collaborators and myself have been looking into. So we have our research directions mostly is on looking at the use of circular economic practices as one of the cure to some of these issues. For instance, building back better. Can we use circular economic practices when we try to build back better? And digitalization, can we also make use of circular economic practices? Can we take advantage of this as well to make use, to diffuse the use of digitalization beyond social media as well as e-commerce? So these are the questions that we are looking at, and the strategy we are making use of. It revolve around circular economic strategy. So I believe most of us might have heard of circular economy before, although the word economy would make it to look like it's related to economic theory, but it's a techno-economic theory that goes away and take things away from the dominant approach we have now in the industry, where we take things from the nature, we make use of them to make product, and after they are used, we just dispose them off. With circular economic theory, the belief is, we should be able to move things around in circle, just like the way living things make use of the natural resources. So we try, with circular economic theory, we try to reduce, to reuse, to recycle, to respect, repair, reflect, and also refuse if possible. So, and this circular economic theory has been highlighted as one of the instruments that we can use to minimize the effect of COVID-19, or to enhance the post-COVID-19 recovery plans. So one of the projects we are working on is actually boosting the role of university for the dissemination of secular design practices towards enhanced post-pandemic recovery effort. So we know that university, our objective is to train citizens, to give them education in different trade. However, we believe that the university can act as a hub to help government in disseminating further, what is this building back better and how we can disseminate this information through the societies by using the key aspect we are using here is secular design practices. Secular design is the same thing as secular economic theory. Okay. So our primary aim was to strengthen the university's role as a catalyst for community engagement with secular economic practices towards the achievement of sustainable development United Nation SDG. Okay. So we in one of the projects that we're doing, we set out with the following objective, which is the secular economic theory. We will find it, in government policy papers. We find it in think tanks. However, the theory has not really penetrated into the curriculum very well. So we try to investigate the design philosophies for secularity in different fields, say in mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, as well as sciences. And once after that, we want to use the information we gather to enhance the curriculum such that when our students are graduating, they will have the knowledge of secularity. Because secular economic theory, the belief is that 80% of secularity can be introduced into the design of product at the design stage. Once we go beyond that, nothing can be done again. But before we have citizens that are going to be informed about secular economic theory, then we need to improve our curriculum regarding what is the design philosophy that supports secularity, or the design philosophy that supports CE. So the next part is also about strategic industry players. Again, while we know that many government are talking about building back better, when it's come to industry players, the medium and small scale enterprises, when you talk to them about building back better or secular economic theory, they have no idea. So we wanted to see how we can also liaise with them, how we can spread the knowledge of these secular economic theory and let them see the benefit in having product that can be subjected to secular design philosophies. And the last one was to develop and explore and propagate the value of this CE using the university, but liaising with secondary schools within the community where our university is located. So the first one has to do with curriculum development. The second objective has to do with industry engagement. And then the third one has to do with community engagement. So again, this is part of the project that I mentioned now. The methodology is basically what we call the double diamond framework, which involves discovering what is happening and then developing and delivering the benefit of what we have discovered, and spreading that within our students, spreading within the community, and spreading within the industry partners that the university work with. Okay. The second project.
Prof. Kamil?
Yes.
1 minute left.
1 minute left. Okay, so I have 3 more slides. So the second project is community-based secularity catalyst through digital fabrication hubs. So here we were trying to train citizens within the community in how to do the conversion of plastic waste into filament, and that can then be used for 3D printing, which is considered a green manufacturing approach. Okay, so for these, it's all about citizens, and the activities for that are listed here. Because of time, I will not be able to go into each one of them, but we try to again use the young citizens within the community and the primary school and secondary school, teaching them about waste. How do we move from waste into wealth, and specifically about plastic waste, converting that into filament, and then teaching them how to use the filament for 3D printing. Okay, so thank you very much. That is all about my presentation.
Please give a big hand. Prof. Kamil, after the third presentation, there will be Q&A. And I think there are already some questions for you in the chatting room, so you may check it out. Okay.
Okay.
And before the Q&A session, we are going to invite our third presenters from the Philippines, Professor Shelelo Amihan. Prof. Amihan, are you still online? Hello, Prof.
Yes,
Amihan.
hello. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Okay, Prof. Amihan. Okay, before you start your presentation, I would like to read a little about your curriculum vitae. Okay, Prof. Selilo Amihan is receiving Doctor of Philosophy in Curriculum and Instruction from Philippine Normal University, Philippines. And he is now the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences and Education, University of Perpetual Health System, Delta Calamba, the Philippines. And he is also the head of Research and Development Center Coordinator for Calamba LP Graduate School. And today he is going to share his ideas entitled Managing Learning Loss. Prof. Amihan, 15 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, hello. I will share my. I'm still disabled to share my screen, please. To share. Hello. I am not able to share my screen. I still am disabled to share my screen at the moment.
Dion,
Yes?
slide-nya Pak Dion. Slide-nya Profesor Pak Dion.
Slide. Okay. You cannot share the slide?
Yes, the host disabled the participant screen sharing. Either you could make me a co-host or you would enable me as a
Okay,
participant.
okay, a minute.
Okay, I think it's okay right now.
Okay, okay. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. Now, hopefully you could see my screen.
Yes, crystal and
Okay,
clear.
thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you once again for the invitation for me to be able to, well, I could hear a feedback. I could hear a feedback. Yeah, I think it's okay now. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this discussion. But still, I could hear some feedback. Mhm.
Nanti tahu.
Okay, I think it's okay. So there, I could still hear myself. Okay, anyways, I think there's a problem with the audio. I could hear. Could you please mute yourselves? Or there you go. Okay, thank you. This is managing learning loss, and we are already suffering the learning loss right now. But hopefully, I could try to make up. Thank you again for the opportunity to share with you our experiences and how we try to manage learning loss in the perspective of the higher education institution in the Philippines, most particularly our experience here in the university. Okay. So just as a backgrounder and why we are involved in this kind of discussions, because um, before the the pandemic, we already had the situation such as the LMS, the learning management systems, but it was not fully utilized. Only a few select universities here in the Philippines have that, but only as an add-on. It's not really considered as a main requirement for us to exist and for learning to exist. And even before the pandemic, we already have separated what are needed to be learned and what are nice to be learned. And we somehow classify those most essential learning competencies, knowing that we could only accommodate so much. We would avoid having too cramped contents in our curriculum. So we only selected those that are highly required and essential as competencies slash the contents of our lectures in the curriculum. And before the pandemic, we were confined with limiting our face-to-face contact hours to 54 hours in one semester in the college department. And we were able to implement both traditional and authentic assessments. Although I must note that in general, the higher education institutions in the Philippines are highly more on implementing the traditional way of assessment. We also acknowledge the use or the value, the significance of experiential learning activities. And although we were not yet fully integrating it into our instruction, we are on our way towards embracing it and implementing it. And of course, we have our usual laboratory exposures, be it in the industry or within the institutions, the higher education institutions, as simulated laboratory exposures. But then came the pandemic, and of course, as part of our resiliency plan, our continuity plan, that learning must continue. During the crisis, we implemented a few things just so that we could cope with the possible learning loss. Therefore, if previously LMS was just an add-on, we had it as a requirement. So there was the clamor, sudden shift from the usual traditional mode of delivery of instruction to now predominantly utilizing technology or through the learning management systems. Now, from the most essential learning competencies, we have already narrowed it down to the most essential. Then we added another layer to that scrutiny, to that sifting of the most essential learning competencies, since we have reduced to at least 50% our contact hours, but still mainly virtual. So from the 54, you could not really expect that for a particular subject to be run for 3 hours in a week, that it would be the same during the pandemic. But we slashed some of the identified most essential learning competencies. And mainly our assessments are output based. And since because of the restrictions caused by the pandemic, we suspended many of the experiential learning activities or the subjects, the programs that would require experiential learning exposures and activities. We replaced them with the typical lecture type classes or subjects. And from the laboratory exposures, we shifted virtually with the virtual laboratory exposures. Now, having said that, we accept that yes, we needed that. It's because we were in the time of crisis, but somehow there were positive transformations from the HEIs. Namely, somehow we now recognize as HEIs that there are certain manpower, there are certain offices that may be right sized, that could still deliver the quality instruction. And we are no more diversified with regards to delivering of services. And we are now going forwards, adopting a more inclusive education. However, we are more dependent on educational technology, but the good thing is that it now got its much deserved spotlight in in the world of instruction, educational technology has not really been gaining that much of a ground, but during the pandemic, it has now taken a front seat with regards to learning. And we have more resilient higher education communities is because we were required to create the learning continuity plans as a submission requirement to the governing agencies in the Philippines. From pseudo teachers, we now have professional teachers, mainly because a lot of non-education faculty, those faculty members who are really experts in the content but not really in pedagogy, now because of the utilization of LMS, they were somehow required, they were forced to learn about pedagogy, and that would somehow add to them being more of professional slash more competent teachers. From isolation, social distancing, now we were longing for social intimacy. So a few opportunities for us to meet, we really took that with open arms. And since educational technology has taken a front seat because of certain situations of some HEIs and in some nations as a whole, technology has become a disabler. There really is a gap with regards to access to education because of access and connectivity to technology. And because of that, the learning loss is being magnified. And it's not something only confined to a particular nation or a particular higher education institution. Learning loss is global and it is indeed significant. Now, try to look into these details. As classes went online, teachers perceive the effectiveness of instructions as declining. And if you could see here, the decline is greater in Australia compared to the other nations, but in average, there would be that 4.8 units of average effectiveness because we shifted from the traditional to the remote learning as part of how we try to respond in this emergency crisis. So there really is this learning loss, even for those highly developed countries. Now, when we try to evaluate it, when you try to dissect the effect of remote learning with regards to the learning loss, there is a big discrepancy with regards to comparing the learning loss or the effectiveness of remote learning, comparing those from the public with the private. There is a 41% gap. Okay, although in average it's still 4.8, but really who are being hit the most with regards to the negative effects of us shifting to remote learning are those students in the public school. Now, not much with regards to access, but still it's 8% and it's something expected. But when you try to compare also student engagement, it would appear that there is a 17% drop compared to the private school students with regards to student engagement during remote learning. And the gap is also being manifested for those below poverty line, including those students with access to devices and internet with regards to having or being under or below the poverty line. And finally, student engagement, those who are mainly hit by this are also those living below the poverty line. So you could see there who are most hit with regards to remote learning, with regards to learning loss. And learning loss is also directly connected to how long we stopped, we closed our schools. If you could see here in the UK, Canada, and the US, they had longer time of school being shut down, and they also suffered the most learning loss compared to the other countries. But then again, we need data for us to determine whether there really is learning loss or not in the instructional level. on the point of view of the teachers, we would be guided by the data. Unfortunately, the data would come from examinations. And when you try to compare 2020, we only had fewer examinations. Therefore, it would be very difficult for us to know if there exist gaps with regards to, or when you try to look into the data of their academic performance through the examinations. And let's try to dissect again learning loss across demographics. Okay. With regards to parental education, those that are being hit the most are coming from the highest level of, or highest parental educational attainment. Or I mean, that's the other way around. I'm sorry for that. The lowest, from the low to the lowest, they are most hit. Boys and girls, not really much of a difference. Top, middle, bottom with regards to prior performance, only in the middle. It really had that much of an impact. With regards to the subjects, reading is most hit. With regards to school grade, age 10 are mostly hit compared to age 11. So learning loss is also has differences when you try to look into the demographics, and we should keep that into consideration when we would be devising interventions, remediation activities, or programs in certain nations or in certain higher education institutions. We should not create something that is a one size fits all solution. We need to customize it reflecting on this data also. Now, in the university, how did we manage it? What were our steps on trying to at least prevent a higher learning loss, or even trying to regain the lost learning that we had? First is we considered LMS as a constant source. It's there already. Okay? So it's not that we go back to the old normal wherein LMS is just an add-on. We recognize its value. Now we try to go back to the most essential learning competencies. And it would mean that those that we disregarded, those that we decided to take away when we had our crisis, uh we placed them back to our normal curriculum and in our instruction. And we had hybrid instruction and assessment, learning from the traditional, combining it to the output based. And now we try to re-enable experiential courses. Actually, there is now an influx of experiential learning courses. It's because of the opportunities due to the less restrictions for physical interaction. And we retrofitted the labs because of certain government policies and protocols. There are certain things that we need to change in our laboratory to accommodate the incoming students. When we said LMS as learning hubs, we adopted in the University of Perpetual Help System Delta
Excuse me.
to LMS. Yes.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Now
thank you.
we utilize to LMS. We have our Canvas. We also have our MS Teams. When we said back to MELCS, the most essential learning competencies, there were subjects that we decided not to offer during the pandemic. We did a backloading, but we also tried to substitute them with subjects that are highly on the lecture identity. But now, since we are back, we were able now to offer subjects that we backloaded then, mainly those requiring laboratory exposures. It's a matter of finding a perfect fit with regards to what type of courses, whether they are general education, professional education, and a mix of synchronous and asynchronous classes. We also try to highlight the value of flipping the classes. And we recognize, especially with the earlier presentation, mental health matters, especially during the pandemic and going back to a new normal. So we had mental health matters, advocating seminars to ensure a balanced subjective well-being of our students and of our faculty members. And we try to infuse um, socio-emotional learning into our instruction through this. But of course, we recognize that there are still gaps. We still have not fully regained. So there should be things that we need to consider still. We should try to flip, uh, knowing that there are in the learning pyramid, learning retention would be better done through other means, and that would mean there should be an opportunity for this to happen. And as a reminder, education, quality education should be our aim. But quality education is also placed into context. We are still in crisis. So we should try to focus still on emergency remote learning while we try to transition to a to utilize the idea, the concept of least restrictive environment. We should not play it safe. Okay, we should try to balance the risk with what we would gain from it in terms of learning. And we try to apply certain interventions so that we could recover, fully recover the learning loss that we have, utilizing certain steps and using learning recovery models. Finally, I would say that the drive for learning recovery demands really a comprehensive and collective action. Of course, grounded in factual and holistic data and the optimism, of course, of a better tomorrow. With that, thank you and good day once again.
Okay, give a big hand. Thank you, Prof. Amian, for your inspirative ideas and presentation. Prof. Amihan, there will be some questions for you, and I think there is already one question for you in the chat room. Okay, I think we only have around 20 minutes for a question and answer. Okay, by the way, first I would like to invite one question from the floor first. And there will be some question from the chat room. From the floor, please, your question. Ibu Dr. Evi, perhaps? Yes? Ibu Evi? Yes, okay. Please. Ibu Evi? Hello? Ibu Evi is going to deliver the question. For whom, Ibu Evi?
Thank you, Pak Dion. Good morning, everyone. I would like to ask to Prof. Amihan. That is
Prof.
correct?
Amihan.
Okay.
Okay, Prof. Amihan, are you ready? This is a question for you.
Yes, I am listening.
Yeah. Thank you, Prof. Amihan, for your times. I just want to ask you about, maybe this is also become one of the question from others about the lost learnings, the impact of lost learnings, especially about the characters of the students here. I think that technology is good enough, especially when the pandemics spread out to the world. One thing that become the solution is about technology. But I think that there is also negative impacts, especially about students' characters. Okay, what do you think about this? Because the impact still runs especially in my country, especially Indonesia itself. What do you think about this? And maybe you have solutions about this. Thank you so much, Ms.
About the
Prof.
student
Amihan.
character, Ibu
Yes,
Evi.
of
Okay.
course.
Okay, Prof. Amihan, about the student's character in learning loss. Okay.
Yes, thank you for that. Now there have been so many discussions already and available information. I found it hard to since I could also listen and hear myself. No, well, now it's okay. Thank you for that. Now there has been many discussions already with regards to the different characteristic of students that we have right now, the Gen Z learners, and they are highly engaged in technology, and they are actually the type of students that would embrace technology. The main problem is that for technology to be useful in trying to avoid learning loss, it should not just be on the end of the students, their capability and their interest and how they their knowledge in trying to navigate and make use of technology, but also in the teaching aspect. And mainly with regards to the knowledge on how to utilize technology, it's more of a problem with the teachers. Unfortunately, in here in the Philippines, there are so many teachers that are still lacking with that kind of skill, which is really highly required in the fourth industrial revolution, the technology skills. And it's something which really affected the pandemic was not expected. It was so sudden that many of us were forced to following instructions. So it's really more of the student aspect. But with regards to the characteristics of the student, I think we should be more concerned to their mental health, to how their emotional and other parts of the holistic development aspect is being developed. It's because with the lesser interaction between the teacher and then the students, with the lesser monitoring of their behavior, with the lesser observation of how they try to behave, I think the students are or would lack the data and would therefore lack the initiative on how to help them. And when we would have problems with mental health, then there would also be problems with regards to learning. Now, added to that, even if the characteristics of the students would be they have the capability really to navigate technology. But then again, even up to now, there is still a problem with regards to accessibility and connectivity of technology that could be used for learning, even during this stage of the pandemic, wherein it's really something part of the new normal already. Connectivity here in the Philippines have a bit improved, but still is a problem in many parts of the archipelago, not just affecting the students, but also the educators as well. So I think those would be more of the concerns really when you try to connect technology with learning loss and the characteristics of the students.
Pak Dian, we can't hear your voice, Pak Dian.
Dr. Farius, there are some questions in the chat
Okay.
room. Can you choose one of them? Okay, choose one of
Okay,
the question. Okay,
okay, okay.
it is up to you because there are a
All
lot of
right.
questions for you.
A lot of questions here. Okay, thank you for the questions. What? Okay. Okay, let me choose the first. The problem to the availability after the pandemic. Okay. For me, the biggest problem, actually, you know that the food availability is come from the various sources. Sorry, at first, sorry, the sounds, the background sounds, because I am in office. Okay, the food is come from the variable sources, and every plant has their own climates for their growth. And some of the plants we can produce on our own in our country, but some we problem for to sustain the production. Okay, to sustain the productions. So we still need commitments from the community and the smallholders. Okay, to keep productions in and manage them within efficient way. So I think that's all, Pak Dion.
Third question from for Professor Kamil. I think there are already some questions for you. Oh, one question for you, Prof. Kamil. Hello, Prof. Kamil.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, there is one question in the chat room for you.
Yeah, so I think the question is asking about if there is any collaboration worldwide to address the post-pandemic problems. I think definitely many researchers have actually collaborated for post-pandemic recovery plans, but there's still a lot of work that need to be done, to be frank, because I think if we all believe that traveling is still very much restricted now, and many researchers are still very cautious in traveling from one country to another, but a lot of things can be done virtually. Specifically, when it comes to policy papers, I think we need to really, especially researchers, we need to digest many of the the local policy papers, the regional policy papers, as well as the the global policy papers. So, and then try to synthesize this together, to make the language used for sustainable development, sustainable socio-economic development, to make the language to be something that can be easily shared with the local citizens, with industries, small scale businesses, not just big companies that understand the significance of development, but also smaller scale businesses that may not have the capability, to do things related to, the United Nations SDG, for instance. So a lot of work can be done in terms of collaborating with international researchers to see how we can synthesize knowledge on use that and propagate that to local communities.
We can't hear you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, Pak Satria, to whom do you address the question?
I am in a bit of disarray to whom I have to give justice, because all of these professor has been given opportunities to answer, and the answer is quite inspiring. And probably I would like to address a tiny bit of point to the Professor Kamil, if I may, Professor Kamil. So my question relates to, we all agree that the COVID-19 has taken us by storm. Like, no one is actually prepared for a solution, especially here in developing countries. In Indonesia, we are so lack of science commodity and so on and so forth. Collaboration is almost non-existent when at the early beginning of the pandemic. So I am actually quite curious, because I'm not coming from science field. I'm from social and political science. Please pardon my ignorance if I miss any information on your field. But my question relates to thus developing countries like Asian and African nations have some sort of collaborative approach to post-pandemic recovery, because I can see that we have some commonalities and similarities in the way we face, challenges like in health industries, and also in the way we treat education sector. Probably if there are some updates in terms of current research, I would be pleased to have that. Thank you so much, Professor Kamil.
Okay. Professor Kamil, the questions for you.
Thank you very much for the question. That's a fantastic question, actually. I think at the moment it's kind of difficult to pinpoint specific research that is being done around the world. But what I can say is clearly the researchers are collaborating with each other. Generally, it might not be at the level of national policy, so to say. However, this kind of conference that we are attending, for instance, provide opportunities for collaboration, so we can see what other research are working on, and we can also see how we can, work with them as well. For instance, one of the work that we did in 2020 involved collaboration of researchers from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Malaysia, from the UK, and as well as UAE. So this involved about 4 or 5 different countries. Even though we were not able to travel out to meet each other, we use the facilities, the online facilities that we all have, to put things together. So many other groups are also doing the same thing. So especially when it's come to sustainability, there's a lot of things that can be done. When it's come to healthcare, when it's come to vaccination, rate of vaccination, the effect of COVID-19 on health, effect of COVID-19 on socioeconomic lives, I think a lot of ground are there for collaboration between researchers.
Thank you, Prof. Kamil. Thank you very much for your very inspirative answers. And I think we still have 5 minutes. Oh, we still have 5 minutes. Prof. Dr. Virus, or maybe from the audience, Ibu Arum, do you have question? Hello, from the audience. Okay, please, one question. The microphone, please. No? Okay. Prof. Kamil, would you please, I think you already answered one questions in the chat room, and there are still some questions for Dr. Virus. Dr. Virus, are you still online?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes. One more question for you, Dr. Virus. Okay, Dr. Virus.
Okay, but maybe I can answer one question from the chat room here.
Oh yeah, from the chat room, because
Okay.
there are a lot of questions for you from the chat room.
Okay. So, mana? Okay, from the Saiful Azhar, maybe. Okay, if we are interested to join the programs, so what should we do first? Okay. Actually, these programs are open to everybody. Okay, so if you interested to join the programs, you can go to nearby of Department of Agriculture, because DOA has every district has this DOA department. Okay, and you can go to the extension division for this matter. Okay, and then provide some information, okay, such as the land space you have, maybe the water availability. So then they can advise you which suitable production system you can be applied for agricultural practice. And then that's all. Dion?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Virus. Questions from Saiful Azhar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is at the end of the session. Professor Kamal, Professor Amihan, and Dr. Ferus, thank you very much for your inspirative ideas, your nice presentation. Hopefully that we will have another seminars with different topics. And for those joining us in this room, thank you very much for your participations. And see you next time, and Master of Ceremony, time sure. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Gracia, for the timekeeping.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we enter the second panel session. This session will be moderated by Mr. Satria Rizaldi, Master of Arts. He is one of the lecturer in the international major at Universitas Slamet Riyadi, and now he is the head of International Relations Laboratory, Universitas Slamet Riyadi, and he finished his Master of Arts study at National Research University Higher School of Economics in Moscow. He also has many achievements. One of them is the founder and president of Leadership Development Association Indonesia and Global Fellow, as well as ambassador of a common world among the youth. Please welcome Mr. Satria.
Thank you, Nessie, and Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, distinguished guests, rector, dean, students, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to first of all welcome you back to the second sessions on the 4th International Conference on Technology, Education and Social Sciences. My name is Satria Rizaldi and I will be moderating the sessions. I do hope that the spirit is still high and our speakers is so looking forward to interact with us and answer your good questions. Before I do, I would like to recognize another 3 international speakers that has been here with us. First, I would like to recognize Dr. Zubair Ahmed Khan. Please identify whether you present on the screen. Dr. Zubair. We also have Professor Burhanuddin bin Muhammad Abu Baidir. Professor Burhanuddin, please identify whether you are on the screen. We also have Professor Budi Putshainon from Konkan University. Prof. Budi, I hope you can hear our voice very clearly. If you are on the screen, please identify yourself. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before I do start our sessions for today, I would like to continue the introductory remarks of our rectors and also Mr. Dion, that we, international academic community, has agreed that the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic has taken us by storm. And in our academic communities, we assume that this is actually a blessing in disguise. It is actually a problem in a way that we are forced to change and to adapt to our new situations, where physical interactions has been transformed to online interactions. The demands to have a more interactive engagement in classes also has been lifted. And there are so many challenges that we are facing today that force us to change our behavior in our daily lives. So, without any further ado, I would like to recognize our first speaker for the second sessions. That is Dr. Zubair Ahmed Khan from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University. Dr. Zubair, if you could hear our voice, please identify yourself. Dr. Zubair, could you please? Okay, it seems that Dr. Zubair has been away from the screen, so we need to rotate the order of our speaker. I would like to summon our The next on the line is Professor Burhanuddin. Good morning, Professor Burhanuddin. Please identify whether you receive our voice. Professor Burhanuddin, could you please identify whether you're present? If not so, then we need to proceed to our next speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to rotate again. Professor Budi Putchainun from Konkan University.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for showing up and save the day.
Yeah,
Professor, thank you so much, Professor Budi. It's been a great pleasure to have you back on the screen. I believe this is not your first engagement with our university, so it's a great pleasure to have you back on the screen in bigger occasions, I believe. And we are very happy to have you here. But before we allow you to take over the screen, let me first of all read a little bit of your short biography to properly introduce you to our audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker is Professor Budi Putchainun, PhD from Konkan University. He is assistant professor in the Development Science and Konkan University. He received his PhD in PhD Development Science from Konkan University. He has been published internationally in different international journals and international academic conferences. And his presentation is also about the field that relates to his interest in development studies. We also do have several presenters in our chambers who actually have very good interests and questions for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I would like to invite Professor Budi to take over the screen. Professor Budi Putchainun, PhD from Konkan University of Thailand. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much. At first, I would like to say hello, and it's my pleasure to go back on this stage again. It looks like I'm back to my home again to meet my family and friends as solo. Because my dream is economics. Today we were talking about the commodity economy after the pre-COVID. Let me give me a time to share the slides. Is everyone hear me? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we already give you the control for the presentations. Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
My slide is shared already. Because we think that it's COVID have been taken many impact to the world. It's not only in Asia, but it has been impact to all just as to Latin America or Africa and everywhere. But however, today we are consider about the some impact after the COVID, and that is be related with my a part of my research that is about the commodity economy in the past of agriculture. Why I talk about agriculture? Because agriculture is very important to produce the foods for the people, and moreover, it is a main carrier for some of people in the rural area. That's the same in the northern east. Why we talk northern east Thailand? Because the northern east Thailand is the land it has been seen with the poverty, dry, and scarcity. Oh, what happened? Dry and scarcity. But in fact, today, Northeast they have been more developed a lot. But this development is on only the urban urban area, but the most of the area is still rural like this. But this area, I mean that this rural area is still go on traditional production as in one area in my research is like we call Ponghang village that is having it's not different from the rural area in the northeast. They have a dry area, but they still go on with agriculture. But moreover, they should rely on some external resource to make them survive. And they still go on and do some of traditional you know that I would like to talk a little bit about the context of this area because this area is far from the center of Khon Kaen, around 80 kilometers, and there are 133 households, and you see that 59% is carried from agriculture, non-agriculture, and 40% from agriculture. And income per month per family is around 23,000 baht. If you want to know how much, you can be multiplied with 360 rupee. That is for Indonesian rate. The expenditure is around 15,000 baht per household, and interesting that 69% of the household in this village have a debt is allowed 110,000 baht caused by village fund, agriculture, and cooperative bank. And with the gallery, this is we found that this community have a ability for saving with 93%. Consider with their land use, you can see that the area is almost they grow with sugarcane, and 33% is from the lights, but the residential is only 2%. However, if we consider before they have a contact farming is come, you can see that this community will produce some of food and they produce for consumption. When time is passed by, they can be expand more land, and they can the house has been expanded, and they can be contacted to another location, such as another village. So the theme of production has been changed to produce for sale. But right now they are produced for commercial. You can see that some of plants have been replaced. It depends on the situation of an economic situation. As in cassava and yucatan have been replaced by cassava sugarcane, something like that. And maybe some plants have been disappeared. But it's right now, contact farming has been a big approach in this village. Consider with their label, you can see that before that, the villager, they use their household label that leads to 80%. But after the contact farming have been approached, you can see that compared with their household label and labor for rents have been almost of equal. But consider with they labor use in this time. Before 2007, you can say they use the labor for all of the year to cropping and some of harvesting, but after the contact farming have been approached, some of previous time in the year, they not use the label, but they use the label for cropping for their new plants. This slide is show about the livelihood before contact farming is approached. That we show that time is have a few house, a few household in the village, and they are produced is for consumption. And some of them have been working from the outside, but however, when the contact farming have been approached, because I have a summer company have been contracted them, that will make change in terms of their livelihood and have been effect in terms of commodity economy. That's like some of the commodity economy components in traditional life, they lack in the person in the case of as a Brahma or lay person, including they have a decrease of their wisdom, local wisdom, such as moving, roasting, or some of traditional treatment, as we call Pifa dancing, to become more modern medical, and included with the new generation label, they are not interested much in agriculture. That is the phrase that is the fact in this witness. Because they love to working with non-agriculture because they make sure for their income. They can go to working into outside of village to another province, or some working to a boat. Because if we're talking about their livelihood that have been affected after contact farming is approached in this farmer in this village, you can see that some of agricultural component produce more, but compared with about the quantity of I mean that compared with the type of the product.
Excuse me, Prof. Budi.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes left. If you would, please conclude your speech in 2 minutes.
Okay, it's early, right? So you can see that they have the mode of agriculture now they have and in terms of their consumption, they will rely on the external resource and social cultural. They are decreasing in their participation because they have no time. And some of the local wisdom, they have been decreased also. But in terms of community group, that is okay because not almost that is from the government setting. And in terms of community commercial, before that they have been self-produced by themselves, but right now they have people from outside to of community resource. They have in terms of biodiversity, they have been reduced a lot caused by land limited and forest have been degradation, and it could have a lower quality. And in terms of labor, have been decreasing because they are moved and then have some of their conservation. You can see that the community forest now have been thinking how to save the forest for in the future. But you can see that the contact farming is still the main income is less to 30%. That is 36% is from the contact farming in terms of agriculture, and including this from working outside as a private company is at least to 11%, and transfer and money transfer from other province is allowed 18%. Transfer from board and any is from 31%. That you can see that is that is show that is a way for adaptation. If a COVID will be happening or not, but the community should be find their suitable pattern to adapt themselves to can be go on in the way of capitalism. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you so much, Prof. Budi, for your inspiring presentation. Please, audience, give a round of applause for Prof. Budi. Prof. Budi, thank you so much for your very insightful and collective research presentations. But before I proceed to our next stage of these conferences, I would like to announce to our audiences as well as to all the speakers that we regret to inform you that our first initial speaker, Dr. Zubair Ahmed Khan from Guru Gobind University, has been withdrawn from our conferences because he has been suffering from sore throat this morning. So we wish Professor Zubair Ahmed Khan a speedy recovery, and we hope that Professor Zubair can join us later on in our future event. So to compensate the disappointment, I will later on give longer durations for Professor Budi and Professor Burhanuddin for a longer engagement in Q&A sessions. So without any further ado, please, Professor Budi, please keep yourself on the screen because we already have some questions for you that we will entertain later on in the Q&A sessions. Thank you so much, Professor Budi. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recognize our second speaker, someone who is so familiar with our institutions, Professor Dr. Burhanuddin bin Muhammad Abu Baider. Professor Burhanuddin, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. How are you, everyone?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin, for taking your time to speak to our academic communities and to our students.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to have you back on the screen after our conferences in 2020, and I was also the moderator for you in your session. So thank you so much for coming back to the screen. Before we proceed to your sessions, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all quickly introduce to you the profile of our second speaker. Our second speaker is Professor Dr. Burhanuddin bin Muhammad Abu Baidir. He is a professor in Faculty of Information and Communication Technology in University Technical Malaysia, Melaka. He is currently Director of Industry and Community Collaboration Center in Chancellery University Technical Malaysia, Melaka. So he has received his diploma, PhD in Computer Science in 2009. He was also Director of UTEM International Center. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I would like to give 15 minutes or maybe longer because Professor Zubair has been withdrawn from the conferences. So we will give more liberty for Professor Burhanuddin to expand his presentations. And we believe also because our students have more questions for you. So for all the audience, if you have any questions for Professor Budi and Professor Burhanuddin, you may drop your questions on the chat box below, or you may raise your hand virtually, so we will allow you to directly interact to our speakers. So without any further ado, Professor Burhanuddin, the screen is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and good morning. وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear chairperson or moderator for today's session, Honorable Conference Manager of the International Conference on Technology, Education and Social Sciences, ICTESS 2022 Committee, dear Professor, Doctor, lecturers, students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank ICTESS 2022 Conference Manager, committee members and organizers for inviting me to deliver a talk today. Dear Professor, Doctor, lecturers, students, conference participants, ladies and gentlemen, I am Abu Burhanuddin. I feel honored to present an important topic in this conference on economic digitalization to accelerate the transformation to a new economy after the COVID pandemic 2019 in this occasion. As you can see over the screen, this is my presentation slide. Can you see my slides? I already shared with you all. So first we want to know what is the about the pandemic or about the COVID-19, right? So before we go further into a detail, we should be able to know, we should know what is this COVID-19. If you can see over here at my screen, COVID-19 is characterized by fever and cough, also will affect our lung and can provide symptoms. And some cases, we have seen that many deaths happen from 2020 until, and especially it affects the old and do health condition, means that they have any complication of the health virus. And historically, it was originally in China. 2019, a pandemic to the whole world in 2020, and now only it's recovered, become an endemic. If you can see the cases that I have extracted from the internet in October, 15 October 2022, you can see the cases, you know, the death cases in Indonesia, it's increased and slowly going down, right? So it is still having a lot of problem as well in Malaysia as well. There are many cases increasing daily on this COVID-19. And now we want to relate this to the economic side of COVID and economic or business side of effect of this. Focus more on digitalization. Okay, so we want to know what is economic digitalization first. So let me introduce economic digitalization. Digitalization is a generic term for the digital transformation of the economy. Digitalization refers to the conversion of specific products, such as photos or records from the analog to the digital format. So for those days, if let's say we want to give a photo or video or records, we will give the hard copy. But during the pandemic 19, everything goes on digital. Okay, digitalization has implications in the economy for enterprises of all sizes, where the enterprises have to digitize their internal process and procedures. Economic digitization have to develop a new service and digital new service and digital, okay, business model. Okay, so every company, they have their own digital roadmap that they will sketch to ensure that the business goes as usual during pandemic and also now after the pandemic or endemic area. Okay, and then now we have to know what is the challenges in economic digitalization before we get to know more on their effect. Okay, so digitalization, its effect many things in terms even in the education, training, teaching and learning, public administration, and other associations as well. So it is the responsibility of the industry, associations, and politics to prepare society for the changes that can be expected in the future from this digitalization. Okay, so in sum, digitalization gives challenge to the companies in identifying new customer needs as a result of the growing adoption of this digitalization. Okay, so those days, availability is very important. Before the COVID, availability of the university, availability of the manufacturing site, and so on. But when COVID attacked, then they're talking more on the reliability of the service that we give. Is it reliable or not? So if reliable, and then if we can use the digitalization, if we can utilize the apps, the software, the network, IoT, then we are be able to survive and we are reliable in the market. And when come to the endemic, if we can remain on cost cutting using all these tools to ensure that business goes as usual, then we can sustain in this today market. Okay, so a transformation to a new economy after the COVID pandemic is very important that we have to do. First, hybrid work become mainstream. Even in teaching and learning, if we conduct a class, if let's say I conduct the class, I have to ensure that I have a camera, I have recording, I can record my video so that my student, whoever cannot attend the classes because of fever or other disease, then they can access anytime my recorded video and so on. Same like you see today, like today conference, we can see there are face-to-face and at the same time online with hybrid. So I don't have to go to Indonesia to deliver the talk, but with this internet, I can easily connect with the people, right? And therefore, we can see some of the turnover also will increase, where we will see, for example, people go to other company, they resign from one company and go to other company and so on. So if employee leaves the company, okay, so who can sustain to have a hybrid facilities? They can make money in business. Okay, and managers' roles also are changing. Last time managers can give the order because all the people in front of him or her, but now with digitalization, so they have to go more on the coaching and monitoring, how you can monitor your workers, which is not in front of you. And also we can see that there is a shortage of critical talent because we cannot see people presenting face to face, even in a Viva, for example. So student present online, so we don't know if he read from other materials and so on. All right. So we want to access or we want to test someone is a challenge. And next, number 5, we can see data collection is expanding because everything you have to key in the data. For example, you want to renew new passport. So you have to key in your data through internet. You cannot go straight away to the immigration. So 3 days or 4 days before you collect your passport, you have to update in the immigration portal. And then they have 3 to 4 days that they can really look into your data. So easily they can find or they can detect any fraud, any people cheating and so on, right? So they have enough time to see how accurate your data. So if you give a false data, then easily they can take action on you. I have given only 15 minutes to present my talk, but actually I have many things to share, and that's why I give a paper that you can refer, all right, from Jordan, written by Jordan Turner and Mary Baker, and he identified more future of work trends post COVID-19 other than these 5. Okay, I have given this paper to the organizer, and later you can get it from them, or you can simply Google. You just Google 9 future of work trends post COVID-19, and you will get this paper and you read. So this is a very good paper for you to read and to know more about this topic. Okay, and also video examining the COVID-19 pandemic impact on learning, especially in university, how it's affect student on teaching and learning, right? So even if I conduct the class, if let's say I have only 5 students log in, I don't have to worry, because if let's say I have 30 students, another 25 students, if they did not log in, I don't have a problem, because if I upload in YouTube, whenever they free, they will go and watch my recording, right? But those days, if I have only 5 students come to the class, so I'll be worried, because how I want to pass the message or the knowledge to another 25 students. Okay, and also I have another article that is very good for us to as a reading material, Zhao et al. Achieving the sustainable development goals in the post pandemic era. Okay, so regardless of any business that we are doing, either in healthcare, manufacturing, or university or school, right? So we can see how we can sustain our business in the market by reading this paper. Zhao gave a very detail about how to sustain our goals, our vision, our mission in the post-endemic era. Okay, so okay, let me conclude my presentation first. First one, multiple pressures continue. Today, there are many pressures, and this is the achievement actually from pandemic COVID-19. So we have to learn what is good and what is not, what is bad, and also we have to know what should we start, what should we stop, and what should we continue from the pandemic to the endemic era. And we have to have a more systematic solutions discovered and adopted in digitalization area. And also we have to reclassify. We already have a vision. Every university or business organization have their vision, their mission, but they have to reclassify their vision and coordinate well all their multiple resources. And it is important to redefine policies and also standard operating procedure. Okay, and we have to consolidate all this, and we have to see other things as well, including the political collaboration and so on. All right, with that, I would like to conclude my presentation, and this is the references that I have given in my slide, and you can go and Google and then get more detail. The first one is 5 tips for China. We have seen that China, the economic or business effect on China is very minimum. Even the COVID-19 start from Wuhan, China. So we have to learn how they face this and they sustain their business in global arena. And also another paper is very important that we have to read is from Banerjee, an invisible human right crisis, because people keep on telling about their rights and so on. Because when we use the internet, there are many things that we can share. All right, the video we can share, the audio we can share. So you have to learn about this and how we can accommodate ourselves to face all of these challenges. Okay. All right, that's all my presentation today, and I would like to thank the chairperson, moderator, and the conference manager for giving me the opportunities to deliver my talk in the International Conference on Technology Education and Social Sciences. And I am from UTM. I'll be very honored to have all of you in this conference, and thank you for listening to all the participants, staff, students, professor, doctor, and so on. And that's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Burhanuddin, for a very comprehensive and insightful presentations about digital economy, ecosystems in Malaysia, and also with some stretch to Southeast Asia. Professor Burhanuddin and Professor Budi, we have a couple of questions in our disposal from professors and as well as from our students. But before we launch the questions from the chat box, I would like to give the first opportunity for audience on the ground. For the audience on the conference rooms, those who wish to speak to Professor Budi or Professor Burhanuddin, please raise your hand. We will give you the first opportunity to ask directly to the speakers. Please. Any questions on the ground? Ibu Arum, perhaps? Okay, Bu Arum, the floor is yours. Bu Arum, your question is to Professor? Okay, Professor Burhanuddin, are you still on the screen with us?
Yeah, I'm here, yes.
Yeah, Professor Burhanuddin, Ibu Arum, our colleague from the Faculty of Law, has a question for you. Ibu Arum, please, the screen is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Satria. Good morning, Professor Burhanuddin.
You're most welcome. Good morning.
Okay, my name is Yoka. I'm from Law Faculty. So, from your conclusion, there are several pressures after the post-pandemic COVID. And
Yes.
my question is how the Malaysia's government try to solve the multiple pressure. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Ibu Arum. Professor Burhanuddin, you may answer to the questions, please.
Yes, Ibarum, thank you very much for your question, which is a very good question. Okay. Actually, we have here MCMC, Multimedia Corporation agencies, who is monitoring on any misuse of the net and also misuse of any material that been shared by people and so on. And also we have a cybersecurity group in our university, in UTM, which is a very active one of the research group that allies with the government sector to help them on some of the abusing of the internet and so on. So this is a collective approach where I can see that we cannot say that everything government have to solve, but as a university, as a research center, we also playing a part. We apply the grant and many grants that we have and research assistant, and we provide many solutions to the government, and government should be able to implement. However, when we look at the transaction today during pandemic or endemic, there are many online transactions. So if online transaction, we will advise that the government and also the user or the service provider who develop the software, so they have to have more detail about the applicant, including their IC number, their identification card number or passport and so on, and their handphone, their email. So with that, and also with many verification, so we're able to keep track whenever we have miscommunication or abuse of the internet. So what I can see or I can conclude over here, this is a collective approach from the government level up to the people level who has to give a commitment. And then in case if anything happened to us, so very quickly we will advise our people in Malaysia to go and make a police report so that we will investigate so that the effect of that abusement will be not that severe and we can overcome it in a very short term of period. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin. I hope the question satisfies the question from Ibu Arum. Thank you so much for facilitating the question, Professor Burhanuddin. We also have a question from the chat room for Professor Burhanuddin. The question is actually from one of our students. So, Professor Burhanuddin, if you could look to the chat room, there is a question for you regarding how the startup companies has failed because of the rapid pace of digital advancement, but many becomes unicorn, even decacorn, especially during the pandemic where the customer behavior has been completely changed. So what do you think is the game changers, how the digital transformation should address this gap between the failed and the success startup companies? So the time is yours, Professor Burhanuddin.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. This also is a very good question that we can see that many companies come and go. Okay, they come and goes during this pandemic or endemic era. Okay, and then during the pandemic, COVID-19, pandemic COVID-19, we can see that the most effective, the most affected companies actually is airlines company, and then hotels, healthcare, tourism. Okay, so they are really badly affected by pandemic. Okay, but after the pandemic, they're starting to picking up the business. Where we can see airlines company, right? If you go anywhere now, you can see that the ticket is not like last time. If you want to go to Istanbul, for example, or you want to go to UK, if you compare the price of the ticket compared in 2018, for example, before the pandemic, or 2019 beginning, so you can see very much it's differ, very expensive nowadays. Okay, why? Because they start to picking up and they want to get back their money. Even if you come to Malaysia, if you go to the hotel rate also not like last time. Yeah? Why? Because that is how they try to recover their business. But however, even with the higher charges that they give, even in the healthcare sector, but with the good infrastructure of the network, the software, the system, they'll be able to survive in the market. But if you compare, in another hand, we have a company that they don't spend on the IT side. They didn't spend on the technology side. So that's why they are considered as not reliable to the customer, and they lose their business in the long run, and they cannot sustain in the market. That's why in my presentation, I had mentioned about the availability, reliability, and sustainability. So they are available, you can see, right? Like the hotel, they're available. But they are not very reliable because their system is not good. They don't have a good system in digital system to book the room, to cancel the room, and so on. Then at the end, they cannot survive, right? Same goes to airlines. We can see many airlines, they have, if they can, but airlines, of course, they have a very good system already. So easily they can pick up, right? So for other companies, small and medium companies, you have to think how you can make use of all this technology and discover how can you use this technology in your business so that you can survive in the long run. That is my answer for this question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin, for a very insightful answers on how company fails and succeed during the pandemics. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that Professor Burhanuddin has distributed to us a very insightful paper of his own, and we will distribute the paper later on through your email because it has been I believe this is a very fantastic work regarding the theme that Professor Burhanuddin has spoken to us. Thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin. Now I would like to move to the question and answer for Professor Budi Purchainun from Konkan University. Once again, thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin. Now, Professor Budi, are you still with us on the screen?
Yes, still.
Thank you so much for your patience because you are second in this question and answer. But we do have a couple of questions in our disposal. But before we launch the one from the chat box, I would like to allow one questions from our conference room. Ibu Irvia. All right. We do have one from our conference room, Ibu Irvia, to Professor Budi. Please give the microphone to Ibu Irvia. Can you access the microphone?
Hello, check.
Okay, thank you so much. Professor Budi, this question is for you. Ibu Irvia, please speak directly to Professor Budi. The time is yours.
Please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizaldi. Hello, good morning, Prof. Budi. My name is Irvia. I'm from University of Slamet Riyadi. My question is about how the recovery step from the Konkan University that can apply to the people live in Konkan village, I mean in Konkan city, because I used to know in Konkan city is a big city, and then how the Konkan University can help the people in Konkan city to recover during the post-COVID-19. Thank you, Prof. Budi.
Thank you very much. And for the question is that normally is a Konkan University had a big news. Konkan University big university. They have medical faculty inside, and then have after the COVID have been a pandemic have been outbreak in Konkan. They have planned to prepare some of vaccine on that time, and then have to spread for their staff, and including with some of people outside. They are working on along with the local officer government in this area also. Okay, terima kasih. Okay, and shall I go on to another question? Hello.
Yes, Professor, we can hear you.
Okay, I can
would you
go
like
on
to
to another
continue?
question.
Pardon?
Okay.
Yep.
Shall
Please
I go on to
continue.
another question? Okay.
Professor Budi, would you like to continue your answer?
Oh yeah, because I have been answered for the first question to her already, but it's shall I go on to another question on the box?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ibu Irvia. I hope it satisfies your questions. So, Prof. Budi, thank you so much for accommodating Ibu Irvia's questions. We do have one more question for you in the chat box. If you can look at it now. But I believe it is rather stretched out from your expertise, but it is slightly relevant to your probably degree background. It is about non-profit management. If you could accommodate such questions, that will be fantastic. Please.
Okay, that is a good question in the chat box. Is maybe his question is about to how is non not in terms of modern management in terms of non-profit organization can be survive after the post-pandemic. I think this is I think it depends on in my view is depend on the I mean how to say let me think the word to say. I mean that is COVID had been impact to every part of the world. I mean every section of the world in terms of the economy and socials. Not only the non-profit instituted, but also profit instituted had been taken effect also. But uh, the best thing that they should do that how can they find a suitable adaptation for themselves and how can they prepare and including how can they expect in how can they predict in the future what is happening. Yes, it has been effect to everything with their urgency and they try. That is my answer.
Thank you so much for your very comprehensive answer, Prof. Budi. We appreciate, we know that this is a little bit stretched out from your presentation, but with your expertise, I hope your answer satisfies the questions. So thank you so much for your insightful answers. We do have one more questions actually from the Zoom room. Someone has raised his hand virtually. It is actually Pak Dr. Cameo from UKSW. Bapak Dr. Cameo, are you
Yes.
still on the screen with us?
I'm online, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Dr. Cameo. If you could put yourself on the video screen. Okay, thank you so much, Bapak Dr. Cameo. We would like to allow you to ask your question directly to Professor Budi or Professor Burhanuddin, if I may.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Actually, I would like to ask Professor Burhanuddin. It was, hi, Prof. Greetings from Surabaya. Sorry, I cannot. I have a problem with my telecommunication system.
It's okay.
Professor Burhanuddin, you mentioned about solving the problem on the abuse of technology. In Indonesia now, we have a problem in every part of economy. For, the most dangerous problem that we are facing now is online credit, online credit, and also pornography and child pornography, and also one of the problem is data protection. It seems to me that you are struggling to think a way to solve this problem, to humanize these human beings, or to humanize us, to dignify us by using technology. A student from the University of Unisri has just mentioned a legal problem. I would like to have your comment on this particular problem, particularly legal problem, in balancing the technology and also, the behavior of the society, which is not properly ready to accept this new development, Professor Burhanuddin. Thank you. As for Professor Bodi, I'm sorry, I have a little bit problem with the telecommunication system, so I cannot catch your presentation very well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your question, Professor Kamil. Okay, this is a question is very much related to the question posted by Dr. Lamin Khaira, I think, in the chatting as well. Okay, he mentioned about the digitization is very important. As mentioned by Prof. Kamir as well, digitization is very important. We cannot run away to have this online business, credit card, debit card, cashless, and so on. Okay, and then he's asking about the strategies that technology should put in place to reduce the internet fraud and so on. So very much related to your question as well. So please give me a chance to answer both together as far as my understanding. Okay, first we want to know about the internet fraud. Internet fraud actually is a cyber crime, fraud or deception, which make use of the internet. They misuse of internet and the cloud involving hiding of information. They have many information, they try to hide, and then they provide incorrect information. Why they do that? The purpose of tricking victims or tricking the people who has a money, who has a property and other inheritance. So they are internet fraud, where we cannot say that it is a single person or they have a group or they have a team that they have formed. Especially they do this and to have a lot of distinctive crime, but then they covers a range of illegal and illicit actions that are committed in cyberspaces, including online credit abusement or debit card investment, pornography, or even we put the data and then they take our data. So, and we have no choice. We have to face all this. Either you like it or not. Either you are in the academic line, for example, the Viva report or so, a Viva report, examination papers, all you have to send through the net. So you don't know who is the hackers that can hack and get to know about them. Same to the banking sector, they have to have a cashless. They have to use a lot of debit card, credit card, and a demand from the customer. But at the same time, they have to prevent all this. So everyone have to have their own strategies. At the moment, what I can advise, we have to combat this fraud. We have to do something and we have to fight these people, where we should have a good fraud deterrence and prevention system. So this give a researcher in the university, a PhD holder or master holder, to do a study on this. So this is actually the opportunities to us, not only for the police or cybercrime team. And also we should have a program how we want to detect that fraud. So by giving few questions at the beginning of the transaction, we can know who is genuine and who is not. And also we should have a fraud investigation. But the problem that I have seen for the country like Malaysia or maybe in Indonesia, we have the fraud investigation, but then we did not release, we did not tell the people the detail of the action taken or result of the investigation and so on. So we have to give the awareness to the people. If you do this, this will happen, and something like that. All right. Thank you. That is my answer at the moment for this question, Prof.
Thank you so much, Prof. Burhanuddin, for accommodating our last questions. We do have a couple more questions on the chat box, but unfortunately, we have come to the end of our sessions. Thank you so much, Professor Budi Putchainon from Konkan University, and also thank you so much for Professor Burhanuddin from UTM Malacca. We do hope that this is
You're most
not our
welcome.
last encounter. We do hope that in the future we can collaborate in some more international events with some more bigger occasions, more festivity, and more insightful discussions. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise to our academic communities. We do hope for your wellness and also for your prosperity in your respective academic field. Going to the end of our sessions, let's pray for the wellness and also for the speedy recovery of Dr. Zubair Khan, who is not available today, but we hope to see him also in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our sessions. Thank you so much for contributing to the festivity of these international conferences. We from Universitas Slamet Riyadi are very pleased with your contributions and also for your engagement, and we hope to see you in the future. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
You're most welcome. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Back to you, Nexi.
Ladies and gentlemen, we already finished the panel session and we will go to the parallel session. But before we have the parallel session, we will have a break time for about 30 minutes. The parallel session will start at 12:30 Jakarta time. Thank you.
Solo, which is history going back to 15th century, is known as the center of Javanese culture among Java Island. Rich with historical sites and the epicentrum of social changes, Solo has been part of Indonesian national transformation. A blend of history, culture, and nature, Solo is not only the grace of the past, but also the spotlight of the future of Indonesia. Solo is the home of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, the oldest private universities in the town with its decades of experiences both in education and culture and inspired by the devotion of a national hero, Slamet Riyadi. The university has a long history in contributing to the region and nation.
Unisri as private university has a vision of becoming superior and quality university in Southeast Asia. In its work based on Pancasila and the values of Slamet Riyadi struggle.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been implementing effective teaching methods supported with multimedia, laboratories, libraries, as well as reliable human resources to produce graduates who are both competent and professional in their field. Universitas Slamet Riyadi promotes professional research activities to contribute to the development of science and technology, which is useful both for environment and humanity. The university is also committed to provide students with facilities to empower them in facing the very competitive global workplace. A complete variety of academic references are provided in order to complete them with the most up-to-date resources. order to contribute to the region and nation, Universitas Slamet Riyadi provides 6 faculties and postgraduate program. Faculty of Law with the Science of Law, Faculty of Economy with Management and Accounting, Faculty of Political and Social Science with Public Administration, Communication and International Relation, Faculty of Education with Pancasila and Civic Education, Counseling Education, English Language Education, Early Childhood Education, Elementary Teacher Education, and Informatics Education, Faculty of Agriculture with Agrotechnology, Faculty of Food Technology and Industry with Technology of Agricultural Product, Postgraduate Program with Magister of Science of Law, Magister of Management, and Magister of Public Administration. In our campus, students are loaded with not only hard skills, but also soft skill and leadership, which are giving them the opportunity to improve their own intellectual and personal capacity. Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been collaborating with universities in Thailand, Malaysia, the Philippines, Japan, the Embassy of Netherlands to encourage development in the area of teaching, research, and publication. At Universitas Slamet Riyadi, we believe that the real achievement is giving to the devotion of the societies.
I am proud to be one of the alumni. The university prepared me with knowledge and skill to contribute to my career.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been providing the region and the nation with its qualified alumni.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi provides students with various choices of extracurricular activities, which are giving them opportunities to develop talents and passion, to build relationship, improve leadership, and organization skills. Universitas Slamet Riyadi is a place where individuals are prepared for achieving skill and capacities, improving leadership, and creating global opportunities. A place where knowledge, science, and technology are devoted for nation and humanity.